Have you ever judged someone only to discover how catastrophically wrong you were? How a single moment of prejudice completely altered the course of your life? That's exactly what happened to Sofia Mendez at the luxurious Sapphire Bay Resort. The owner of Sapphire Bay Resorts, the manager announced, his voice echoing in the small office. Sofia felt her knees weaken as oxygen seemed to vanish from the room. The disheveled man from earlier, the one she had threatened to have security remove, the one she had openly mocked and dismissed, now stood before her in an immaculate suit worth more than her yearly salary. "We've already met," Aiden Nakamura said, his dark eyes holding hers with an unreadable expression. Though our introduction was unconventional, Sofia's mind raced through the terrible things she'd said to him just hours ago. How she'd assumed he was homeless. How she'd told him this resort was for people who can afford it. How she'd looked at him with such disdain. And all along, he hadn't just been a guest. He owned the entire international chain of luxury resorts where she had worked for 6 years. "Mr. Nakamura will be staying for 3 months to oversee renovations," her manager continued, oblivious to Sofia's inner turmoil. "He's requested you specifically as his personal suite attendant." Sofia couldn't breathe. Why would he request her? To humiliate her? To fire her personally? I don't understand," she managed to stammer. Aiden's lips curved into a slight smile. Simple curiosity. "I want to know more about the woman who believes she can determine someone's worth by their appearance." In that moment, Sofia realized her job wasn't the only thing at stake. This encounter would challenge everything she thought she knew about herself and others. What Sofia couldn't possibly know was that this catastrophic mistake would become the unexpected catalyst for the most profound transformation of her life. Her judgment would lead to an unlikely friendship, career advancement beyond her wildest dreams, and even, most surprisingly, love. But the path wouldn't be easy. Sofia would first have to confront her own biases, understand the complex man behind the wealth, and discover that true value has nothing to do with designer clothes or social status. Welcome back to the Mr. Ross Story Trail, where we explore the unexpected journeys that shape who we become. For our new viewers joining us today, this channel is dedicated to powerful stories that entertain while revealing important truths about human nature and connection. Today's story asks us all, what assumptions do we make about others based on surface appearances? How might these judgments limit not only our understanding of them, but our own potential? Sofia's journey from judging a homeless man to discovering his true identity is just the beginning. What follows is a remarkable story of growth, forgiveness, and the courage to see beyond what's visible to the eye. Before we dive into Sofia's world and follow her extraordinary path from hotel maid to something she never imagined possible, take a quick moment to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Every day, we bring you compelling stories that entertain while offering valuable insights about life's most important lessons. If you've ever misjudged someone or been misjudged yourself, this story will resonate deeply. And trust me, the twist at the end of Sofia and Aiden's journey is something you won't want to miss. Now let's return to that fateful morning at Sapphire Bay Resort, where Sofia Mendez pushed her cleaning cart down the hallway, completely unaware that she was about to meet the man who would change everything. 6 years of employment at Sapphire Bay Resort had earned Sofia Mendez nothing more than tired feet, calloused hands, and a paycheck that vanished before the next one arrived. At 34, her life had become an endless cycle of early mornings and late nights. Sofia's alarm blared at 4:30 a.m. each day. By 5:15, she was quietly closing the door of her small 2-bedroom apartment, careful not to wake 11-year-old Lucia or her mother, Elena, who shared the second bedroom. The bus arrived at 5:27, carrying her and other service workers to the gleaming coastal properties where they remained invisible to guests. From 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., Sofia cleaned at Sapphire Bay. After a quick bus ride home to check on her family, she changed uniforms and headed to her evening job at Mediclean, sanitizing medical offices from 4 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. "Mama, when will you be home?" Lucia would ask during their brief afternoon encounters. Before you know it, Sofia always answered, smoothing her daughter's hair. But Lucia's eyes held a knowing sadness. The girl had grown accustomed to completing homework under her grandmother's supervision and eating dinner without her mother. Weekends brought no reprieve. Saturday mornings meant shifts at a local laundromat, where Sofia folded strangers' clothes for minimum wage. Sundays, her only true day off, disappeared in a blur of household chores, grocery shopping, and meal preparation for the coming week. Sleep became a luxury she could rarely afford. Most nights, after preparing lunches and laying out clothes, Sophia collapsed into bed around midnight, giving herself barely 4 hours of rest before starting again. Sophia's refrigerator held more than food. It displayed a meticulously organized payment calendar. Red circles marked bill due dates. Blue circles indicated paydays. A special gold star represented July 15th, the date she needed $3,800 for Lucia's orthodontic work. "Your daughter needs comprehensive braces," the dentist had explained 6 months earlier. "Her dental structure requires correction now to prevent serious issues later." The payment plan Sophia negotiated stretched their budget beyond breaking point, but Lucia's future was non-negotiable. The girl already felt self-conscious about her smile, and Sophia refused to let financial limitations define her daughter's confidence. Elena's medical expenses created another layer of financial strain. At 62, Sophia's mother battled diabetes and hypertension, conditions requiring monthly medication that insurance only partially covered. Recent kidney complications had added specialist visits to their mounting expenses. Their apartment, while modest at $1,350 monthly, consumed nearly half of Sophia's income. Located in the only neighborhood with reliable transportation to Sapphire Bay, moving somewhere cheaper would add hours to her commute, time she couldn't sacrifice. Each month became a mathematical puzzle. Which bills could wait? Which creditors would accept partial payments? Sophia maintained meticulous spreadsheets tracking every dollar. Entertainment existed solely as free community events. Clothes came from thrift stores. Dining out was a forgotten luxury. "We're blessed with what matters," Sophia reminded her family during particularly difficult times. "We have each other," but privately, in rare moments alone, Sophia wondered how long she could maintain this precarious balance before something or someone broke. The gleaming white uniforms worn by Sapphire Bay Resort's housekeeping staff hid a multitude of realities. For Sophia, each spotless button represented invisible pressures accumulating beneath the surface. "The Nakamura standard means perfection," Supervisor Diane repeated during morning inspections. If guests wanted average accommodations, they wouldn't pay $900 per night. Sophia's section included 12 rooms requiring complete turnovers daily, plus 3 refresh services for guests declining full cleaning. Each room had a 23-minute allocation, impossible considering the meticulous standards demanded. Toilet paper edges required precise folding into points. Towels needed arrangement in specific fan patterns. Bed corners demanded military precision with exactly 6-inch overhangs. Glass surfaces couldn't show a single fingerprint. Room temperature must be set to exactly 72 degrees. Physical toll accumulated in Sophia's body. Her lower back ached constantly from bending to clean bathtubs. Her knees protested years of scrubbing floors. Her hands, despite gloves, had developed rough patches resistant to even the richest lotions. 3 complaints this quarter about your work, Mendez, Diane noted during Sophia's recent evaluation. Guests reported improperly aligned amenities and 1 instance of insufficient towel count. The write-up meant Sophia's performance rating dropped from exceeds expectations to meets basic requirements, eliminating her eligibility for the quarterly bonus she'd counted on for Lucia's school supplies. Competition among staff intensified as management introduced guest satisfaction metrics determining who received prime floor assignments. Sophia watched younger employees cutting corners, then claiming impossible completion times to curry favor with supervisors. "This isn't sustainable," her coworker Marta whispered during lunch. "Something has to change." But change seemed impossible in an industry where workers remained disposable and invisible. Sophia remembered when she'd felt genuine pride serving Sapphire Bay's guests. During her first years, she'd believed in the resort's promise of creating extraordinary experiences. She understood luxury's appeal and took satisfaction in contributing to guests' perfect vacations. That perspective eroded gradually, replaced by growing resentment. The catalyst came during last year's New Year's celebration. While cleaning Suite 712, Sophia discovered $3,000 in cash scattered across the floor, apparently dropped and forgotten by the occupant. She immediately reported it to management, who returned it to the grateful guest. "This honest employee saved your cash," her manager had said. The guest, a tech executive celebrating with friends, merely nodded without looking at Sophia. No thank you, no acknowledgement, no tip. That same week, Sophia had skipped meals to afford Elena's heart medication. Other incidents accumulated, a guest who complained about Sophia entering to clean, despite the service please sign activated. A woman who snapped her fingers instead of using Sophia's name clearly displayed on her badge. Children who deliberately created messes while making eye contact with her. a businessman who left biological messes in the bathroom that required hazard protocols to clean. "They don't see us as people," Sophia told Elena one evening. "We're furniture that cleans other furniture." Each morning, Sophia observed guests enjoying $75 breakfast buffets while discarding plates still half filled with food. She watched children receiving $200 beach adventure packages while Lucia had never even visited the shore, despite living 20 minutes away. The wealth gap became more than financial. It transformed into an emotional chasm Sophia couldn't bridge. Each diamond bracelet, designer handbag, and careless extravagance she encountered while cleaning suites reinforced her growing belief. Those with money valued nothing and nobody. At her core, Sophia remained deeply principled. She taught Lucia that character revealed itself through actions, not possessions. She volunteered monthly at her church's food pantry despite her limited time. She still helped elderly neighbor Mrs. Abernathy with groceries every Sunday. "Always treat others with dignity," Sophia repeatedly told Lucia. "Everyone deserves respect." Yet something fundamental shifted in Sophia's worldview. The woman who once believed in universal human value increasingly sorted people into categories, those who worked for living versus those who profited from others' labor. This transformation happened subtly. Sophia began referring to wealthy guests as "these people" in conversations with coworkers. She stopped making excuses for rude behavior. Her customary warm smile cooled into professional politeness, present but distant. When passing expensive cars in the resort parking lot, Sophia found herself making assumptions about the owners. When hearing guests complain about trivial inconveniences, she mentally cataloged their ingratitude. Coworkers noticed the change. "You've grown harder," Marta observed during a rare shared coffee break. "The Sophia I met years ago saw good in everyone." "That Sophia couldn't afford her mother's medication," she replied flatly. This developing bias created uncomfortable contradictions. Sophia still taught Lucia not to judge others, yet increasingly categorized people based on external markers of wealth. She valued honesty, yet found herself withholding genuine warmth from guests she deemed entitled. The idealistic young woman, who had once viewed her position as meaningful service, transformed into someone who saw clear dividing lines between those who deserved her respect and those who needed to earn it. This hardening heart became both armor and prison, protecting Sophia from disappointment while trapping her in bitterness she didn't recognize in herself. "Mendez, you're on beachfront cabanas today." Sophia bit back a groan as Supervisor Diane handed her the assignment sheet. The luxurious private cabanas, nestled along Sapphire Bay's pristine shoreline, were notoriously demanding to clean. Each one featured custom imported furniture, hand-woven textiles, and private plunge pools, all requiring specialized care beyond standard room protocols. "Johnson called in sick again," Diane continued, not looking up from her clipboard. "These need to be perfect by noon." The Martinez wedding party booked them for a pre-ceremony gathering. Sophia checked her watch, 9:15 a.m. Less than 3 hours to properly clean 7 elaborate cabanas. "I'm still finishing the East Wing rooms," Sophia pointed out. "I have 3 left. Delegate them to Rivera," Diane replied dismissively. "Cabanas are priority, direct orders from management." The wedding party paid $30,000 for exclusive beach access. Sophia nodded, swallowing her frustration. This schedule was physically impossible, but expressing that reality would only earn another note in her file. As Diane walked away, Sophia quickly reorganized her cart, adding specialty cleaning products for teak furniture and marble surfaces. The morning sun intensified as Sophia pushed her cart along the winding path toward the beach. She passed laughing guests heading to breakfast, couples strolling hand in hand, and children racing toward the water, all moving in the opposite direction of her exhausting day. Sweat beaded along her hairline despite the early hour. The forecast predicted 95 degrees by afternoon, meaning the cabanas would become oppressive ovens while she scrubbed them. Sophia mentally calculated how many water breaks she could reasonably take without falling behind schedule. Reaching the cabana section, Sophia checked her assignment sheet again. She would work systematically from cabana 1 through 7, allowing approximately 20 to 5 minutes per structure, barely adequate considering their size and complexity. The first 6 cabanas were vacant as expected. Sophia moved efficiently through them, wiping surfaces, replacing linens, restocking premium amenities, and arranging furniture to photograph-worthy perfection. By 11:30, she had completed 6 cabanas and was approaching her final assignment, Cabana 7. As Sophia neared the structure, something unexpected caught her attention. The privacy curtains weren't fully drawn, and she could see movement inside. According to her schedule, all cabanas should have been vacated hours ago for cleaning. Sophia approached cautiously, clipboard in hand. Through the billowing white curtains, she observed a figure seated at the teak dining table on the private deck. Her first impression registered surprise. This person clearly wasn't part of the typical Sapphire Bay clientele. The man hunched over a battered laptop, typing with focused intensity. His appearance was startlingly out of place among the cabana's elegant surroundings. His hair, dark and overgrown, stuck out in uncombed directions. Several days' worth of stubble darkened his jaw. His clothes appeared slept in, a gray t-shirt with visible wrinkles and faded jeans that had seen better years. Most notably, a collection of items surrounded him that suggested extended squatting: an old backpack with frayed straps, several empty coffee cups, food wrappers, and papers scattered haphazardly across the expensive table. A worn hoodie hung over an adjacent chair. Sophia's first thought: someone had broken into the resort property. It wouldn't be the first time unauthorized visitors found ways to access the exclusive facilities. Just last month, security had removed 2 college students who had jumped the south fence to use the infinity pool. She squared her shoulders and stepped forward. Protocol dictated reporting unauthorized persons immediately, but with security stretched thin preparing for the wedding event, direct confrontation seemed more efficient. "Excuse me, sir," Sophia called out firmly from the entrance. "This area is for guests only." The man barely glanced up, his fingers continuing their rapid movement across the keyboard. "I am a guest," he replied, his voice carrying an unexpected note of cultured precision despite his disheveled appearance. Sophia stepped closer, noting additional details. Despite his unkempt state, his laptop, though old and covered with stickers, displayed complex spreadsheets. A smartphone lay nearby, connected to what appeared to be financial monitoring apps. "This section is reserved for a private event beginning at noon," Sophia explained, maintaining her professional tone. "All cabanas should have been vacated for cleaning." "I'm working," the man responded simply, still not fully engaging with her presence. "I'll be finished shortly." Sophia felt her patience thinning. The man's dismissive attitude triggered memories of countless entitled guests who believed their convenience outweighed staff protocols. "Sir, I'll need to see your room key, please," Sophia requested, shifting to her most authoritative tone, the one she reserved for dealing with difficult situations. The man's typing paused momentarily. "Don't have it with me." His attention remained fixed on the screen, where columns of numbers scrolled past. Sophia's suspicion deepened. Resort policy required guests to carry room keys at all times specifically to verify identity in such situations. The man's casual dismissal of this requirement further convinced her he didn't belong. "Then I'll have to ask you to leave," Sophia said firmly, reaching for the radio clip to her belt. "This is private property." At this, the man finally looked up fully. Sophia found herself momentarily startled by the intensity of his dark eyes, keenly intelligent and unexpectedly penetrating despite his disheveled appearance. "Is that how you treat all your guests?" His question carried no anger, only genuine curiosity. Sophia stood straighter. "Only the ones who don't belong here," she retorted, confidence reinforcing her words. "This resort is for people who can afford it." Something flickered across the man's expression, a brief micro-expression too quick to properly identify. Amusement? Interest? His mouth curved slightly at one corner. "And what does someone who can afford it look like exactly?" he asked, his tone shifting to something more deliberately thoughtful. The question caught Sophia off guard, carrying unexpected weight. Her cheeks warmed with a flush she hoped wasn't visible. For a moment, doubt crept into her certainty, but she quickly dismissed it. Years of experience had taught her to recognize legitimate guests from trespassers. "Someone who doesn't look like they slept on the beach," Sophia replied candidly. "Security will escort you out." As Sophia turned to radio security, her mind rapidly categorized the man based on years of pattern recognition. Everything about him signaled outsider to her experienced eyes. Legitimate guests at Sapphire Bay presented themselves according to unwritten but universally understood wealth codes. Even those who adopted casual luxury maintained certain standards: designer casual wear, recent haircuts, manicured nails, quality timepieces. The truly wealthy could be identified by the confident ease with which they navigated exclusive spaces. This man displayed none of those markers. His weathered backpack alone, covered with duct tape repairs, contradicted the Louis Vuitton and Rimowa luggage that typically accompanied guests. His fingernails were short but uneven, suggesting practical self-maintenance rather than professional grooming. Sophia mentally assigned him to a familiar category: opportunistic trespasser taking advantage of the resort's expansive grounds and multiple access points. She'd encountered similar situations before: people sneaking in to enjoy amenities, take shower and pool facilities, or simply experience luxury beyond their means. What confused her assessment were subtle contradictions. Despite his appearance, his posture and speech suggested education. The focused work on his laptop indicated purpose beyond simple trespassing. Most unauthorized visitors sought enjoyment, not a place to work. Still, Sophia's judgment crystallized around visual evidence. Her responsibility was maintaining the resort's exclusivity, keeping the boundary between those who belonged and those who didn't. Housekeeping to security, Sophia spoke into her radio. Unauthorized individual in Cabana 7 refusing to leave. Assistance needed. The radio crackled with a response. Copy that. All units currently managing wedding security will dispatch someone when available. Sophia sighed. The wedding preparations had clearly stretched security thin. She would need to manage this situation herself until help arrived. As Sophia communicated with security, the man observed her with unexpected attentiveness. His gaze, previously absorbed in his work, now studied her with analytical precision. He noted the perfection of her uniform despite hours of physical labor. He observed the slight calluses on her hands and the careful way she maintained professional posture despite obvious fatigue. He registered the family photo tucked discreetly in her clipboard, showing a young girl with a woman who appeared to be her grandmother. "What's your name?" he asked suddenly. Sophia hesitated before answering. "Sophia Mendez. I'm the assigned housekeeper for this section." The man nodded thoughtfully. "You take pride in your work, Miss Mendez." The observation wasn't a question but a statement of fact. Sophia found herself momentarily disarmed by its accuracy. "I do my job," she replied neutrally. "There's a difference between doing a job and taking pride in it," he countered, gesturing subtly around the immaculate cabana she'd cleaned earlier. "You align every amenity at perfect right angles. The towels are folded with mathematical precision. Even the coffee supplies are arranged by descending height." Sophia remained silent, uncomfortable with his perceptiveness. "That level of detail isn't in a standard cleaning manual," he continued. "That's personal standards." As she prepared a response, the man turned back to his laptop. "I'll be gone in 20 minutes. You'll have plenty of time to prepare for the Martinez wedding." Sophia blinked in surprise. How did he know about the wedding reservation? Perhaps he'd overheard staff discussions, further confirming her suspicion he'd been loitering around the property. "Security will arrive before then," Sophia stated firmly. The man nodded absently, already reabsorbed in his work. "As you wish." As she walked away, she heard him chuckle softly. Interesting perspective. Security never arrived. When Sophia returned 30 minutes later with a maintenance worker as backup, Cabana 7 stood empty. The man and his belongings had vanished, leaving no evidence of his presence except a perfectly clean table and neatly stacked coffee cups in the recycling bin. "He must have realized we were serious about removing him," Sophia told Miguel from maintenance, who had agreed to accompany her when security remained unavailable. "What did this guy look like?" Miguel asked, helping Sophia quickly prepare the cabana for the incoming wedding party. "Homeless," Sophia replied simply. "Definitely not a paying guest." Sophia completed her preparation of Cabana 7 in record time, ensuring everything was perfect before the wedding party arrived. By 12:15, she watched from a professional distance as elegantly dressed guests filed into the cabanas, champagne flutes already in hand. The incident with the strange man faded into the background of her demanding day. By afternoon, Sophia had moved on to cleaning the presidential suites in the North Wing. By evening, as she punched out her time card, the encounter existed as nothing more than a minor disruption in her routine, a story to perhaps share with Marta during tomorrow's coffee break. Sophia had no way of knowing that the man from Cabana 7 was currently sitting in the resort's executive office, reviewing employee files and operational reports as he prepared for a complete renovation of Sapphire Bay. She had no way of knowing his name was Aiden Nakamura. She had no way of knowing she had just insulted the billionaire who owned not just this resort, but the entire international hospitality group that employed her. And she certainly had no way of knowing that tomorrow morning her life would change forever. Sophia's next morning began like any other. Until 9:17 a.m. "Mendez, report to Mr. Henderson's office. Immediately." Diane's voice crackled through Sophia's radio with unusual tension. Sophia froze, vacuum cleaner humming in her hands. Being summoned to the general manager's office never signaled positive developments. In 6 years, she'd been called there exactly twice, when receiving her 5-year service pin and when being written up after a guest falsely accused her of theft. Did he mention why? Sophia asked, her throat suddenly dry. Just go, now, and make sure your uniform is perfect. Sophia quickly checked her appearance in the bathroom mirror. She straightened her collar, tucked stray hairs into her regulation bun, and brushed lint from her sleeves. Whatever awaited her, she would face it with dignity. The walk to administration felt interminable. Each step down the marble hallway brought mounting dread. Had someone complained? Was this about yesterday's incident with the trespasser? Perhaps budget cuts had finally reached housekeeping, and layoffs were beginning. Sophia mentally calculated their financial reserves. Without her Sapphire Bay income, they would manage perhaps 3 weeks before true crisis. Lucia's orthodontist required payment in 14 days. Sophia knocked on the heavy wooden door displaying Richard Henderson, general manager, in gold lettering. "Enter," called a voice from within. Sophia squared her shoulders, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The first thing Sophia noticed was Mr. Henderson's expression, a strained combination of deference and nervousness entirely unlike his usual commanding presence. He stood awkwardly beside his desk, rather than seated behind it. The second thing she noticed was that they weren't alone. A man stood at the window overlooking the bay, his back to the door. Even from behind, something about his posture triggered immediate recognition. When he turned, Sophia's world tilted on its axis. It was him, the man from Cabana 7. Except he wasn't disheveled anymore. Gone was the unkempt beard, replaced by precise, professional grooming. His previously unruly hair was now stylishly cut and perfectly arranged. Instead of wrinkled casual clothes, he wore an impeccably tailored charcoal suit that Sophia instantly recognized as custom-made. A platinum watch gleamed subtly at his wrist. Most disorienting was his transformation from seemingly ordinary to commanding. He occupied the space with unmistakable authority, the kind that required no announcement or explanation. "Miss Mendez," Henderson began, his voice unusually formal. "Allow me to introduce Mr. Aiden Nakamura, owner and CEO of Nakamura International Hospitality Group." Sophia felt blood drain from her face as realization crashed through her consciousness. Nakamura International, parent company of Sapphire Bay Resort. The name emblazoned on her paychecks, uniform, and every piece of hotel literature. "We've already met," Aiden said with calculated neutrality, though our introduction was unconventional. Sophia's pulse thundered in her ears as yesterday's interaction replayed in horrifying clarity. Her direct confrontation, her assumptions about his appearance, her comment about people who can afford it. She had lectured the owner of the entire resort chain about belonging. Mr. Nakamura arrived yesterday to begin his 3-month residency overseeing our renovation project, Henderson explained, clearly unaware of their previous encounter. He'll be occupying the Oceanside suite during his stay. Sophia managed a weak nod, unable to form words as her career flashed before her eyes. "However," Henderson continued, consulting a document on his desk, "Mr. Nakamura has made an unusual request regarding staffing arrangements." Sophia braced herself for termination. Best case scenario, transfer to laundry services. Worst case, immediate dismissal with cause. He's requested you specifically as his personal suite attendant for the duration of his stay. Sophia's racing thoughts screeched to a halt. What? Henderson looked equally confused by the arrangement but continued professionally. "You'll be reassigned exclusively to Mr. Nakamura's suite and private meeting areas. This includes daily service, evening turndown, special requests, and maintaining his private office." Sophia looked directly at Aiden Nakamura, searching his expression for explanation. His face revealed nothing. No anger, no amusement, no clue to his intentions. "I don't understand," Sophia finally managed. Aiden stepped forward. "Simple curiosity, Miss Mendez. I want to know more about the woman who believes she can determine someone's worth by their appearance." The words carried no malice, yet landed with precision. Sophia flinched internally, hearing her own prejudgment reflected back to her. "Your employment record shows exceptional attention to detail," Aiden continued, gesturing to a file on Henderson's desk. 6 years of service, consistently high performance ratings until recent months, and numerous guest commendations. You're exactly who I need during this critical period." Sophia recognized the offer for what it was, both opportunity and examination. He wanted to observe her closely, though his reasons remained unclear. Was this punishment? A test? Or something else entirely? This assignment comes with a temporary pay adjustment, Henderson added, perhaps sensing her hesitation. 30% above your current rate, plus potential performance bonuses. Sophia thought of Lucia's braces and her mother's medication. Whatever game the billionaire was playing, she couldn't afford to decline. I'm honored by the opportunity, Sophia replied with as much composure as she could muster. When do I begin? Immediately, Aiden answered. I have meetings throughout today, but I expect to return to my suite by 7 this evening. We can establish proper protocols then. That evening arrived with excruciating slowness. Sophia spent the afternoon being briefed on Mr. Nakamura's preferences by Henderson's assistant, who seemed to know remarkably little about the CEO's actual habits. He rarely provides specific instructions, the assistant explained. He simply expects excellence. By 6:30 p.m., Sophia stood in the Oceanside suite, reviewing her preparation one final time. She had researched proper VIP protocols, arranged amenities with mathematical precision, and prepared the room to standards exceeding even Sapphire Bay's exacting requirements. The door opened at exactly 7 p.m. Aiden Nakamura entered, removing his suit jacket with fluid efficiency. Good evening, Ms. Mendez, he acknowledged without looking directly at her. He moved to the desk where financial reports awaited his review. Good evening, Mr. Nakamura. I've prepared the suite according to available preference information. If anything requires adjustment, please let me know. Sophia maintained perfect professional distance, her voice betraying none of the anxiety churning beneath her composed exterior. Aiden finally looked up, studying her with the same analytical attention he'd shown in Cabana 7. You've created a fortress of formality, Ms. Mendez. The observation caught Sophia off guard. Sir, your posture, speech pattern, and positioning in the room, all designed to establish maximum professional distance, he noted matter-of-factly. Interesting response to discomfort. Sophia remained silent, unsure how to navigate this unusual interaction. I don't intend to fire you, if that's your concern, Aiden continued, turning his attention to a report. That would be counterproductive to my purpose. May I ask what that purpose is, sir? Sophia ventured cautiously. Understanding, he replied simply. I find people fascinating, particularly those who make definitive judgments based on limited information. The pointed reference to their first encounter hung in the air between them. Now, he continued, I'll need coffee brought at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Black, no sugar. And please adjust the temperature to 68 degrees. I work better in cooler environments. The abrupt shift to practical matters provided welcome relief from the uncomfortable personal assessment. Of course, sir. Will there be anything else this evening? No. You're dismissed until morning. Sophia nodded and moved toward the door, grateful to escape the tension. Oh, and Ms. Mendez? Aiden called after her. Next time, perhaps refrain from assuming someone doesn't belong based on their clothing. It's rarely a reliable indicator. Sophia felt heat rush to her face as she left without responding. Sophia barely slept that night. Her mind cycled through dozens of scenarios, each more concerning than the last. Why would a billionaire CEO single out a housekeeper who had insulted him? The most logical explanation seemed punitive. He wanted to make an example of her, perhaps building documentation for eventual termination. The generous pay increase merely softened the trap. Or perhaps he sought entertainment at her expense. The ultra-wealthy often viewed ordinary people as curiosities, their struggles as abstract amusement. Sophia had witnessed countless guests, treating staff as props in their luxury experience rather than as human beings with dignity. Most disturbing was the possibility that his interest was inappropriate. Sophia had heard whispered stories about wealthy men who pursued female staff, leveraging power imbalances for personal gratification. Though nothing in Aiden's behavior suggested such intentions, the thought nevertheless intensified her unease. You're overthinking, Marta told her during their morning bus ride. Maybe he genuinely values your work ethic. Billionaires don't notice housekeepers unless we make mistakes, Sophia countered. And I definitely made one. Then prove yourself exceptional, Marta suggested pragmatically. Whatever his motives, perform so impeccably he can find no fault. Sophia arrived at work an hour early, determined to follow Marta's advice. She prepared Aiden's coffee precisely at 4:55 a.m., ensuring it would reach perfect temperature by his 5 a.m. request. She adjusted the suite's temperature and prepared fresh fruit according to preferences noted in his file. When Aiden emerged from the bedroom at exactly 5 a.m., Sophia stood ready but unobtrusive, maintaining professional distance. Your coffee, Mr. Nakamura, she indicated the perfectly arranged service. Aiden nodded, moving directly to his work without acknowledgement. For 2 hours he worked in complete silence while Sophia attended to minor tasks, the tension between them almost palpable. At 7:15 a.m., he finally spoke. "You have a daughter?" The statement, not a question, startled Sophia. "Yes, sir, and a mother who requires medical care." Sophia tensed. How did he know these details? Yes, difficult, balancing those responsibilities on a housekeeper's salary, he observed, still focused on his computer screen. "We manage," Sophia replied carefully, uncomfortable with his knowledge of her personal circumstances. "Do you?" Aiden looked up then, his expression unreadable. "Your personnel file shows multiple requests for additional shifts. Your overtime hours exceed department averages by 43%. Your recent performance decline coincides with increased financial obligations." Sophia felt exposed, vulnerable. "My personal situation doesn't affect my work quality. Evidence suggests otherwise," Aiden replied neutrally. "Recent guest complaints indicate declining attention to detail, unusual for someone with your previous record." Sophia struggled to maintain composure. "If my performance doesn't meet your standards, perhaps another attendant would—" "I didn't say that," Aiden interrupted. "I'm merely observing that external pressures affect performance regardless of intention. It's a management failure, not a personal one." Before Sophia could process this unexpected perspective, Aiden continued. "I have meetings until late afternoon. I'll require dinner service at 7 p.m., something simple from the kitchen. You may select appropriate options." The abrupt subject change left Sophia disoriented. "Yes, sir. And Ms. Mendez? Schedule yourself a break. You've been here since before 5 a.m. Over the following days, a pattern developed. Sophia arrived early each morning, prepared Aiden's coffee, and attended to the suite while he worked. Their interactions remained minimal, but gradually shifted from uncomfortable to predictably professional. On day 7, an unexpected disruption occurred. "Mr. Nakamura," Sophia began as she entered with fresh towels, "the kitchen requested your preference for—" She stopped abruptly. Aiden sat at his desk, but gone was the immaculate executive. His hair stood disheveled, his expensive shirt wrinkled and untucked. A day's stubble darkened his jaw. Scattered papers and empty coffee cups surrounded him. He looked remarkably like the man she'd encountered in Cabana 7. "You're staring, Miss Mendez," Aiden noted without looking up. Sophia collected herself. "Forgive me. I was surprised by my appearance." His mouth curved slightly. "When focused on work, I prioritize function over form. Appearance becomes irrelevant." Sophia recognized the deliberate echo of their first meeting. "I shouldn't have interrupted. Yet here we are," Aiden replied, finally looking up. "Tell me, does my current state suggest I don't belong in this suite?" The question hung between them, a direct challenge to her previous judgment. Sophia considered her answer carefully. "I made assumptions based on limited information. That was wrong of me." "Interesting," Aiden observed. "Not just what you said, but how you said it. You acknowledged the error without actually apologizing for it." The astute observation caught Sophia off guard. Before she could respond, Aiden continued. "We all make judgments based on appearances, Ms. Mendez. The question is whether we allow those judgments to become fixed beliefs despite contrary evidence." He turned back to his work, effectively dismissing her. "The kitchen can send whatever they recommend. I trust their expertise." As Sophia left, she felt strangely unsettled. For the first time, she wondered if Aiden Nakamura's interest in her went beyond simple curiosity or punishment. Perhaps he sought something more complex, a genuine examination of perception and prejudice. That thought was somehow more disturbing than her previous assumptions. Friends, have you ever misjudged someone based solely on their appearance? We all have those moments where our snap judgments lead us down unexpected paths. Sophia's story reminds us how these split-second assessments can change our lives in ways we never imagined. If you're enjoying this journey of discovery, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you won't miss what happens next in Sophia and Aiden's unfolding story. Your support helps us continue bringing these meaningful narratives to life, and we appreciate every one of you joining us on the Mr. Ross story trail. By the 3rd week of her assignment, Sophia noticed subtle changes in her interactions with Aiden. Their morning routine had developed a comfortable rhythm. She arrived at 4:45 a.m. to prepare his workspace. He emerged precisely at 5 a.m., and they exchanged brief, professional acknowledgments before beginning their respective tasks. What changed was the quality of silence between them. The initial tension had evolved into something more contemplative, less guarded. Occasionally, Sophia would look up to find Aiden observing her with thoughtful curiosity rather than judgment. One morning, as Sophia arranged fresh flowers, Aiden spoke unexpectedly. "You adjusted the suite temperature," he noted. Sophia paused. "Yes, sir. I noticed you wearing a sweater yesterday despite the thermostat being set at your requested 68 degrees. The building's central system was recalibrated overnight, affecting all rooms. I've compensated accordingly." Aiden nodded appreciatively. Most would have maintained the numerical setting regardless of actual comfort. "My job is ensuring comfort, not following numbers blindly," Sophia replied. "Precisely." Something in his tone suggested the exchange carried deeper significance. Perception versus reality, an important distinction. Later that day, Sophia entered the suite to find Aiden engaged in a video conference with international executives. She moved silently toward the door, intending to return later, when his voice stopped her. "Miss Mendez, please stay. Your perspective would be valuable." Surprised, Sophia hesitated as Aiden introduced her to the conference participants. "This is Sophia Mendez, who has worked at Sapphire Bay for 6 years. She experiences our operational decisions directly." He turned to her. "The design team proposes replacing staff break areas with additional guest amenities. Your thoughts?" Sophia froze momentarily, aware of multiple executives waiting for her response. She chose honesty. "Staff breaks are currently 15 minutes. 5 minutes are spent walking to designated areas, 5 returning. Eliminating convenient break spaces means staff essentially lose their entire rest period in transit." Aiden nodded. "Quantifiable impact on employee well-being." "Thank you, Ms. Mendez." The exchange lasted less than a minute, yet its implications lingered. He had valued her practical knowledge over executive theories. More surprisingly, he had done so publicly. That evening, Sophia found a formal note with her schedule. "Your input changed our renovation approach. Staff wellness areas will be enhanced, not reduced." And the acknowledgement, simple yet significant, marked the first crack in Sophia's perception of Aiden Nakamura as merely another detached billionaire. A pivotal moment occurred during the 4th week, when Sophia arrived to find Aiden engaged in heated discussion with Henderson, the general manager. "These occupancy rates are unacceptable," Henderson insisted, pointing to financial reports. "We should implement automatic 18% service charges like our competitors. Disguising price increases as service charges while reducing staff is disingenuous," Aiden replied calmly. "It's standard industry practice," Henderson countered. "Guests expect it. Guests expect value, not deception, and employees expect fair compensation for quality work." Aiden's voice remained measured but firm. "Revenue problems stem from outdated facilities and declining service quality, not insufficient fees." Sophia attempted to withdraw discreetly, but Aiden acknowledged her presence. "Ms. Mendez, your timing is excellent. Tell me, how many rooms can housekeeping staff properly clean per shift while maintaining our standards?" Sophia considered carefully. 12 is the current expectation, but proper attention to detail is only possible with 8 to 10, depending on room type. Henderson interjected, "That's significantly below industry benchmarks of 16 to 18 rooms." "Industry benchmarks produce industry standard results," Aiden replied. "We don't aim for standard." He turned back to Sophia. "If you had authority to improve housekeeping efficiency without sacrificing quality, what would you change?" Sophia hadn't expected this question but answered thoughtfully. "Staggered checkout times would prevent the midday bottleneck. Room-specific cleaning kits would eliminate return trips to supply carts, and recognizing staff who receive guest commendations would improve morale." Aiden nodded. "Practical solutions requiring minimal investment with potentially significant returns. Implementation begins tomorrow, Henderson." After the manager departed, Sophia gathered courage to ask a question. "May I speak freely, sir?" "Always." Most executives consult expensive consultants rather than asking staff directly. Aiden's expression remained neutral, but his eyes reflected something deeper. "Consultants provide theories. Employees provide reality. I prefer reality." That afternoon, Sophia observed Aiden differently when he interacted with other staff. He knew maintenance workers by name. He thanked kitchen staff individually. When an elderly housekeeper dropped linens in his presence, Aiden helped her gather them without hesitation. These weren't calculated public relations gestures. They occurred naturally, often when Aiden believed no one important was watching. Sophia began recognizing a pattern. Aiden Nakamura evaluated people based on how they performed their responsibilities, not their position in the hierarchy. This realization challenged her assumptions about wealthy individuals in ways she couldn't easily dismiss. Understanding began one evening when Sophia arrived for turn-down service and found Aiden reviewing old photographs spread across the desk. "My mother," he explained, noticing Sophia's glance toward a faded image of a young Asian woman in a waitress uniform. "She worked double shifts at a diner to support us after my father left." Sophia hadn't expected this personal disclosure. "She looks very determined." She was. Aiden's typical reserve softened momentarily. "She cleaned hotel rooms on weekends much like you do, to afford our apartment in Los Angeles. 1 bedroom for 3 people. Sophia paused in her work, suddenly seeing Aiden through a different lens. 3? My grandmother lived with us after emigrating from Japan. She watched me while my mother worked. His finger traced the photograph's edge. I wore secondhand clothes until college. We ate discount food approaching expiration dates. Standard poverty management strategies. The casual way he referenced experiences Sophia recognized from her own life created unexpected connection. This wasn't performative empathy, but shared understanding. What changed? Sophia asked. Opportunity combined with preparation. Aiden organized the photographs methodically. I earned a scholarship to UCLA, worked nights programming websites while studying business during days. My first successful application connected travelers to family-owned accommodations rather than corporate hotels. That became Nakamura Hospitality Group? Eventually. The path wasn't linear. Aiden's expression remained contemplative. I lived in my car for 6 months during the startup phase, showered at a gym where I paid monthly membership, worked from public libraries for free internet. Sophia struggled reconciling this history with the immaculate billionaire before her. That explains why you were so comfortable looking different. When we first met, Aiden's mouth curved slightly. When pursuing important work, external appearances become irrelevant luxuries. I forget social expectations when focused on problems. Like when I found you in Cabana 7, Sophia acknowledged. Precisely. I was addressing infrastructure vulnerabilities in our booking system. External presentation was secondary to preventing potential data breaches. Sophia recognized her opportunity to address their first encounter directly. I made unfair assumptions that day. We all make assumptions based on appearances, Aiden replied. The question is whether we allow new information to change those initial judgments. His gaze held hers with unexpected intensity. Are you capable of changing your perspective when presented with contradicting evidence, Ms. Mendez? The question felt weighted with significance beyond their specific situation. I'm trying to be, Sophia answered honestly. That's all anyone can do. Aiden returned the photographs to a leather portfolio. That's all I ask of anyone. During their 6th week working together, Sophia gained deeper insight into Aiden's management philosophy through an unexpected source, his actions during crisis. A devastating storm struck the coast without warning. Power failed throughout the resort. Backup generators maintained essential functions, but chaos erupted as guests demanded refunds, compensations, and immediate solutions. Sophia arrived at Aiden's suite to find him coordinating emergency response via satellite phone. He worked through the night, making decisions with calm efficiency while executives twice his age deferred to his judgment. What impressed Sophia wasn't his technical knowledge, but his priority framework. Every decision began with the same questions. Are our people safe? Are their needs addressed? How do we support them so they can support our guests? When morning came, Sophia discovered Aiden had arranged hotel rooms and functioning properties for staff whose homes suffered damage before addressing guest concerns. He had dispatched maintenance teams to employee residences to assess structural safety. He had established emergency payroll advances for affected staff. Business fundamentals are straightforward, Aiden explained when Sophia expressed surprise at these priorities. Take care of your people. They take care of your customers. The business succeeds as a result. Most executives operate in reverse order, Sophia observed. Most executives mistake short-term profits for sustainable success. Aiden sorted through emergency reports with practiced efficiency. My mother worked for businesses that saw employees as disposable resources. She gave everything to companies that gave nothing in return. I promised myself I'd build something different. Later that day, Sophia overheard Aiden refusing a publicity team's request to document his employee assistance efforts. We help people because it's right, not because it's marketable, he stated firmly. No photographs, no press releases. This commitment to principle, rather than perception, further challenged Sophia's assumptions about wealth and character. The man she had judged so harshly in their first encounter operated from values she herself espoused but had assumed absent in the wealthy. The contradiction disturbed her neat categorization of us versus them that had structured her worldview for years. Small interactions gradually transformed their professional relationship into something more complex. These moments, brief but significant, built unexpected bridges between their different worlds. One evening, Sophia mentioned Lucia's upcoming science project while refreshing Aiden's coffee. "What topic?" he asked unexpectedly. "Renewable energy. She's creating a solar-powered water purification system." Sophia's voice carried maternal pride. "She wants to design solutions for communities without clean water access." The next day, an engineering kit from MIT's development program arrived for Lucia with a simple note for future innovators, Anne. When Sophia attempted to thank him, Aiden waved away her gratitude. Supporting potential benefits everyone, not charity, investment. Another connection formed through shared experience. Sophia arrived one morning to find Aiden speaking Japanese with his grandmother via video call. After ending the conversation, he noticed Sophia's recognition of certain phrases. "You understand Japanese?" he asked. "Basic phrases only. My neighbor Mrs. Yamamoto taught me while she helped care for Lucia after school." Sophia arranged his desk materials. She said I reminded her of her daughter. "My grandmother says similar things about certain qualities she observes." Aiden studied Sophia with renewed interest. The capacity to persist despite obstacles. These personal exchanges accumulated gradually, creating contexts that transformed their understanding of each other. They remained employer and employee, divided by position and power, yet increasingly connected through mutual recognition of shared humanity. One particularly meaningful moment occurred when Sophia arrived early and found Aiden looking uncharacteristically disturbed while reviewing financial projections. "Is everything all right, sir?" she asked. After a moment's hesitation, Aiden explained a complex business challenge involving potential layoffs at an underperforming property. "The financial solution is obvious: reduce staff by 30%. But that's 212 people with families and obligations." Sophia recognized the genuine concern in his expression. "What alternatives have you considered?" Their conversation evolved into an unexpected brainstorming session. Sophia's practical perspective complemented Aiden's strategic approach. Together, they identified operational inefficiencies that could reduce costs without eliminating positions. "Sometimes the obvious solution isn't the only solution," Sophia suggested. Indeed, Aiden made notes from their discussion. "Thank you for your insight, Sophia." It was the first time he had used her first name. The small shift in formality marked significant evolution in their relationship. 7 weeks into their working relationship, inevitable conflict emerged. Sophia arrived to find Aiden reviewing her personnel file with Henderson. "This is inappropriate," she stated firmly. Professional composure momentarily forgotten. "My personal information isn't entertainment for—" "That's enough, Ms. Mendez," Henderson interjected sharply. "Actually, her concern is valid," Aiden countered. "We're discussing her without including her. That's inherently problematic." He addressed Sophia directly. "We're reviewing staffing for the resort's community support initiative. Your file indicates significant volunteer experience that might make you suitable for coordination responsibilities." Sophia's defensiveness remained. "My file contains private information about my family circumstances." "Information I already knew from our conversations," Aiden pointed out calmly. "But your reaction raises important questions about trust." After Henderson departed, tension lingered between them. "You believe I'd exploit personal information about your family," Aiden observed, his tone neutral but his expression revealing subtle hurt. Sophia chose honesty over diplomacy. "Power differences create vulnerability. My daughter's well-being depends entirely on my continued employment. After 7 weeks working closely, you still believe I'd weaponize that vulnerability against you?" "Experience has taught me caution around those with power to affect my livelihood," Sophia replied carefully. Aiden considered this perspective thoughtfully. "That's entirely rational given historical power dynamics, but it creates an impasse between us." "An impasse?" "I can't build effective working relationships without trust. You can't extend trust because of justifiable self-protection." Aiden's directness was both challenging and refreshing. "How do we resolve this contradiction?" The question demanded honesty Sophia wasn't sure she was prepared to offer. After careful consideration, she chose truth. "My caution isn't entirely about you specifically," she admitted. "It's about what you represent. Wealth that exists alongside poverty, power that can change lives with decisions made casually over breakfast. Aiden nodded slowly. Systemic critique, rather than personal judgment. That's fair. But, Sophia continued, surprising herself with her candor, I've also observed you consistently making choices that contradict my assumptions about wealth and character. That creates confusion. Cognitive dissonance, Aiden suggested, when new information contradicts established beliefs. Exactly. Then perhaps we've reached an important juncture, Aiden proposed. Can you accept that your initial assessment of me, based solely on appearance and assumptions, might have been incomplete? Sophia recognized the question's significance extended beyond their specific relationship. It challenged her entire framework for categorizing people based on wealth indicators. I'm beginning to, she acknowledged. And I, Aiden responded with equal honesty, must recognize that your caution isn't personal rejection but reasonable self-protection within systems that historically exploit vulnerability. This mutual recognition, this willingness to see beyond initial judgments, marked profound evolution in their relationship. They remained employer and employee, separated by wealth and position, yet increasingly connected through genuine understanding. The community initiative launches next month, Aiden said, returning to their original topic. Your perspective would be valuable in ensuring it addresses actual needs rather than merely looking beneficial. Sophia nodded, recognizing both the professional opportunity and the personal olive branch extended. I'd be honored to contribute. Good. Aiden returned to his work with characteristic focus. And Sophia? Thank you for your honesty. It's surprisingly rare in my position. Most people tell you what they think you want to hear, Sophia observed. Precisely. Which makes genuine perspective invaluable. Aiden looked up, meeting her eyes directly. Never stop telling me the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially then. This request, simple yet profound, established new parameters for their evolving relationship. Beyond employer and employee, they were becoming something neither had anticipated, allies in understanding perspectives beyond their own experiences. The call came at the worst possible moment. Sophia stood in Aiden's suite preparing for an important investor meeting when her phone vibrated with Lucia's school number. Mr. Nakamura, I apologize, but I need to take this, Sophia said, professional mask firmly in place despite her concern. Aiden nodded, continuing to review documents while Sophia stepped aside. Miss Mendez? This is Nurse Garza from Lincoln Middle School. Lucia had an accident during physical education. She fell and there's been significant damage to her dental work. Sophia's heart sank. Is she all right otherwise? Yes, but she's in considerable pain. The impact dislodged her partial braces and caused damage to several teeth. She needs immediate attention from her orthodontist. Sophia glanced at her watch. 11:17 a.m. Her shift wouldn't end until 3:30, and requesting emergency leave required complicated approval processes. I'll be there as soon as possible, Sophia promised, mind racing through impossible calculations. Their dental insurance would cover only a fraction of emergency work. The orthodontist required payment before treatment. Their emergency fund held barely $600. Sophia ended the call and turned to find Aiden watching her with quiet attention. Family emergency? He asked. My daughter had an accident at school. I need to request temporary leave to. Go immediately, Aiden interrupted. Family comes first. Relief at his understanding mixed with mounting anxiety about what awaited her. Thank you, sir. I'll ensure someone covers my afternoon responsibilities. Sophia gathered her belongings quickly, professional composure beginning to crack under the weight of maternal worry combined with financial panic. As she reached the door, Aiden's voice stopped her. What kind of medical situation? He asked. Sophia hesitated, private pride warring with practical reality. Dental emergency. She fell during gym class. Aiden nodded thoughtfully. Dr. Winters at Bay City Dental is exceptional with emergency cases. My company maintains a relationship with their practice for our executive team. Sophia managed a polite smile despite the gulf this casual recommendation revealed between their worlds. Bay City Dental was the most exclusive practice in the region, well beyond her financial reach. Thank you for the suggestion, she replied diplomatically. We have an established provider. What Sophia didn't say, their established provider operated from a clinic serving low-income families, where waiting times often stretched for hours and equipment dated back decades. As Sophia hurried toward the bus stop, practical concerns overwhelmed her. The orthodontist would require at least $1,500 for emergency work. Their credit card was already near its limit from Elena's recent hospital visit. The payment for Lucia's planned procedure was due next week. Sophia called their usual clinic from the bus, explaining the emergency. The receptionist's response confirmed her fears. Earliest emergency appointment is tomorrow morning. Payment will be due at service. By the time Sophia reached the school, she had exhausted every financial option. She would need to request an advance on her salary, something management historically denied due to policy restrictions. Lucia sat in the nurse's office, tear tracks staining her cheeks, holding an ice pack against her swollen jaw. The sight of her daughter's pain momentarily pushed aside all other concerns. "Oh, mi vida," Sophia whispered, gathering Lucia into a careful embrace. "It hurts, Mama," Lucia whimpered. "And I look horrible. Everyone saw it happen." "We'll fix everything," Sophia promised, despite having no idea how to fulfill that pledge. As they completed discharge paperwork, Sophia's phone rang with an unfamiliar number. "Ms. Mendez? This is Rebecca from Bay City Dental. We have an opening for Lucia at 1:30 today with Dr. Winters. Transportation has been arranged to bring you directly from Lincoln Middle School." Sophia blinked in confusion. "There must be some mistake. We don't have an account with your practice." The appointment was arranged by Mr. Nakamura's office. "All financial matters have been addressed. The doctor is expecting you." Outside the school, a private car waited to transport them to the clinic. Sophia felt equal parts relief and discomfort at this unexpected intervention. Bay City Dental occupied the top floor of a medical building overlooking the ocean. The reception area featured original artwork, custom furnishings, and staff who greeted Lucia by name as though they'd expected her all along. "We'll take excellent care of her," the treatment coordinator assured Sophia. "Dr. Winters specializes in pediatric dental trauma." Within minutes, Lucia was settled in a treatment room equipped with technology Sophia had never seen in their usual clinic. The doctor, a warm woman with a gentle manner, explained each procedure in terms Lucia could understand, transforming a frightening experience into something manageable. "We'll need to replace the damaged brackets and address the cracked tooth," Dr. Winters explained. "Fortunately, we can complete everything today." When Sophia attempted to discuss financial arrangements, the coordinator smiled reassuringly. "Everything has been arranged, Ms. Mendez. Please focus on your daughter." 3 hours later, Lucia emerged with her braces repaired, damaged teeth restored, and pain significantly reduced. The transformation went beyond physical. Her daughter's confidence had returned. "Everyone was so nice, Mama," Lucia marveled as they were escorted back to the waiting car. Dr. Winters said, "I was the bravest patient she'd had all week." In the privacy of the car, Sophia finally checked her phone. A message from Maid awaited. "Confirmed your leave for the remainder of the week. Focus on Lucia's recovery. The treatment plan includes follow-up care as needed. This isn't charity. It's appropriate support for a valued team member." The message's careful wording acknowledged her pride while offering genuine assistance. Sophia felt complex emotions collide: gratitude for her daughter's care, discomfort at requiring help, and confusion about how to properly respond to such generosity. That evening, as Lucia rested comfortably for the first time in months, her dental pain finally properly addressed, Sophia sat at their small kitchen table wrestling with implications of the day's events. The careful narrative she had constructed about wealthy people and their indifference to others' struggles had been directly challenged by Aiden's actions. He had anticipated her needs, respected her dignity, and provided assistance without public acknowledgement or expectation of gratitude. This behavior contradicted everything Sophia had come to believe about the divide between economic classes. The realization was profoundly unsettling. Sophia returned to work the following Monday with her worldview in significant flux. The neat categories through which she had organized her understanding, wealthy versus working class, privileged versus struggling, no longer contained her experience. Aiden made no mention of his intervention, treating their interaction with characteristic professional focus. This absence of expectation further complicated Sophia's ability to process her feelings. During afternoon service, Sophia finally addressed the situation directly. "Mr. Nakamura, about Lucia's treatment. How is her recovery progressing?" He interrupted, attention still on his work. "Remarkably well. The quality of care was exceptional. Dr. Winters is the best in her field. I'm pleased she could help." Sophia gathered her courage. "I need to thank you properly for your assistance." Aiden looked up then, his expression thoughtful. "Why?" The question caught Sophia off guard. "Because what you did was extraordinarily generous." "Was it?" His tone remained neutral, genuinely curious rather than dismissive. "Consider the context. You've provided exceptional service for nearly 2 months. Your daughter required medical attention. The company maintains relationships with healthcare providers precisely for such situations. But those benefits typically extend to executives, not housekeeping staff, Sophia pointed out, an arbitrary distinction that serves no rational purpose. Aiden set aside his work entirely, giving her his full attention. You're a valuable team member experiencing a temporary crisis. Appropriate support ensures you remain a valuable team member. Simple business logic. This framing, presenting compassion as practical business strategy, seemed deliberately calculated to preserve her dignity. Sophia recognized the consideration behind his approach. Nevertheless, she insisted, it was kindness beyond professional obligation. Perhaps, Aiden acknowledged this with slight inclination of his head, but gratitude creates imbalance between us that serves neither of our interests. I prefer mutual respect to one-directional appreciation. This perspective, so different from the power dynamics Sophia had experienced throughout her career, forced her to reconsider fundamental assumptions about workplace relationships. The conversation marked a beginning of profound recalibration in Sophia's thinking. If Aiden Nakamura, whose wealth and position represented everything she had resented, could demonstrate such thoughtful compassion, what other beliefs might require examination? Over subsequent days, Sophia found herself noticing contradictions in her established worldview. The wealthy guest who left generous tips for housekeeping staff, the executive who remembered maintenance workers' names, the instances of kindness that her prejudice had previously filtered from her awareness. She also recognized that her justified criticism of systemic inequality had gradually transformed into personal judgment of individuals based solely on their economic status, precisely the kind of prejudice she despised when directed at herself. This realization wasn't comfortable. It required acknowledging that she had become capable of the same categorical thinking she condemned in others. 3 days after Lucia's accident, Sophia attended her first executive meeting at Aiden's request. The renovation committee had gathered to review design proposals for staff facilities. Ms. Mendez will provide practical assessment of these concepts, Aiden explained to the assembled executives and designers. Sophia had prepared extensively, reviewing the proposals with attention to detail and practical implementation. As the meeting progressed, however, she noticed familiar patterns emerging. Designers focused on aesthetics over functionality, executives prioritized cost over effectiveness, and no one addressed actual staff needs. In previous years, Sophia would have remained silent, recognizing her position in the hierarchy. Today, something had changed. "May I offer an observation?" she asked during discussion of break room redesigns. The room quieted, executives turning toward her with expressions ranging from surprise to mild annoyance. The current design reduces seating by approximately 30%, while adding decorative elements that serve no practical purpose, Sophia noted, indicating specific areas on the blueprints. Staff currently eat in shifts due to limited space. This design would further compress break times. The lead designer began a defensive response about aesthetic considerations, but Sophia continued with newfound confidence. Additionally, the proposed location for microwaves creates a bottleneck during peak usage times. Moving them to this wall, she indicated an alternative position, would improve flow significantly. When she finished her analysis, silence filled the room. Several executives exchanged glances, clearly unaccustomed to such direct feedback from staff. Aiden broke the tension with a simple question to the committee. "Aren't these precisely the practical insights we need to create functional spaces?" The designer nodded reluctantly. "These are valid considerations we hadn't fully addressed. Implement Ms. Mendez's recommendations," Aiden directed, "and perhaps consult staff who will actually use these facilities before finalizing future designs." As the meeting concluded, Sophia experienced unfamiliar emotions, pride in her contribution, satisfaction in being genuinely heard, and growing confidence in her professional value beyond manual labor. This pattern continued in subsequent weeks. Sophia found herself invited to meetings where her practical expertise provided essential perspective. Her suggestions, initially received with skepticism, gradually earned respect as their implementation improved operations. More significantly, Sophia began offering her perspective without waiting for direct invitation. She identified inefficiencies in housekeeping workflows and proposed solutions. She suggested communication improvements between departments. She advocated for practical changes that benefited both staff and guests. This emergence of professional voice represented profound transformation for Sophia. The woman who had once seen herself exclusively as an invisible service provider increasingly recognized her capacity for meaningful contribution beyond assigned tasks. 8 weeks into their working relationship, Aiden invited Sophia to review employee satisfaction data collected during preliminary renovation research. "Something doesn't align here," he noted, indicating survey results. "Compensation ranks 5th in importance for staff, below schedule flexibility, growth opportunities, recognition, and management respect. Yet our retention strategies focus almost exclusively on competitive wages." Sophia studied the data thoughtfully. "Money matters immensely. Most of us work primarily from financial necessity, but how we're treated daily determines whether we perform at minimum acceptable standards or with genuine dedication." "Elaborate," Aiden requested, giving her his full attention. "When supervisors know our names and acknowledge our humanity, we work differently," Sophia explained. "When policies recognize we have families and obligations outside work, we develop loyalty. When our expertise is respected rather than dismissed, we invest ourselves fully." Aiden considered this perspective carefully. "You're describing intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic incentives." "I'm describing basic human dignity," Sophia corrected gently. "Being seen as people rather than functional units." This conversation sparked a series of discussions about employee experience. Sophia found herself serving as translator between executive concepts and practical reality, helping bridge the gap between management theory and daily implementation. "We've been addressing symptoms rather than causes," Aiden acknowledged during one such discussion. "Turnover, absenteeism, quality and consistency, these are outcomes of deeper issues. People respond to how they're valued," Sophia observed. "Not just in compensation, but in daily interactions." This insight, simple yet profound, became central to Aiden's approach to the renovation project. Beyond physical changes to the property, he began implementing cultural transformation centered on genuine respect for staff contribution at all levels. Most significantly, Sophia's perspective influenced structural changes in how employee concerns reached management. Rather than filtering through multiple supervisory layers, direct communication channels were established between frontline staff and decision-makers. "Proximity to problems should correlate with influence over solutions," Aiden explained when announcing this change. "Those closest to challenges often have the clearest insights about addressing them." For Sophia, this philosophy represented everything missing from her previous workplace experiences. Being valued for her thinking, rather than merely her labor, transformed her relationship with her work and herself. 10 weeks into their professional relationship, Sophia and Aiden reached a new level of understanding through unexpected circumstances. Sophia arrived one morning to find Aiden dressed impeccably for an important investor presentation. As she arranged materials for his return, she discovered an unusual sight. Multiple identical suits hung precisely in his closet, each with matching shirts and accessories. When Aiden returned that evening, Sophia's curiosity overcame her professional reserve. "May I ask a personal question?" "Certainly. I noticed your closet contains several identical suits." Aiden nodded matter-of-factly. "I maintained consistent professional appearance to eliminate decision fatigue. Identical suits remove daily clothing choices, preserving mental energy for substantive matters." Sophia considered this perspective. "Yet our first meeting occurred when you'd abandoned this approach entirely." "Precisely." Aiden set aside his presentation materials. "Appearance serves specific purposes in specific contexts. When deeply focused on critical problems, maintaining external presentation becomes unnecessary cognitive burden." This pragmatic approach to appearance, so different from social status signaling Sophia had observed in wealthy guests, offered insight into Aiden's character. "You don't view clothing as status symbol," she observed. "I view it as functional tool," he corrected. "Sometimes the function is communicating credibility to investors. Sometimes it's maximizing mental focus by eliminating discomfort or distraction." This perspective illuminated their first encounter in new light. Aiden's disheveled appearance in Cabana 7 hadn't been carelessness but deliberate prioritization, valuing productive work over social perception. "That challenges conventional thinking about professional appearance," Sophia noted. "Conventional thinking often confuses superficial indicators with substantive value," Aiden replied. "Throughout history, societies have used appearance, clothing, possessions, physical attributes as shorthand for assessing worth. This creates profound inefficiency." "Inefficiency?" "Human potential wasted because of misplaced judgment." Aiden's expression grew contemplative. "Consider how many brilliant minds remain undeveloped because they don't match arbitrary appearance standards. How many valuable perspectives are dismissed because they come from unexpected sources? Sophia recognized he was addressing their journey from hostile first encounter to meaningful collaboration. "If I'd looked beyond your appearance that first day," she acknowledged, "I might have recognized your focus rather than assuming you didn't belong. And if others had looked beyond your uniform," Aiden countered, "they might have recognized your intelligence and insight years earlier." This mutual recognition, this shared understanding that worth transcends appearance, represented the most profound transformation in Sophia's thinking. Her evolving relationship with Aiden had forced her to confront her own prejudices while simultaneously validating her long-held belief in dignity beyond social position. "Worth exists independently of perception," Aiden continued. "Your value as a thinker, problem solver, and contributor existed long before anyone recognized it, including yourself." This observation struck Sophia with unexpected force. Had she limited her own potential by accepting others' definition of her capabilities? Had she confined herself to roles deemed appropriate for her position? "Our greatest limitation is often our acceptance of external judgment," Aiden noted, seeming to read her thoughts. "The boundaries others place around our potential become real only when we internalize them." For Sophia, this insight illuminated not just her professional journey but her entire approach to life. She had defined herself primarily through her responsibilities, mother, daughter, housekeeper, rather than through her capabilities and potential. As she left Aiden's suite that evening, Sophia carried more than completed tasks. She carried evolving understanding of worth beyond appearance, value beyond position, and potential beyond prescribed limitations. The transformation had begun. 11 weeks into their professional relationship, subtle shifts emerged in the dynamics between Sophia and Aiden. The changes appeared in small moments, lingering conversations extending beyond work topics, shared smiles at inside references, comfortable silences that no longer needed filling. One evening, as Sophia completed her final tasks for the day, Aiden asked an unexpected question. "What made you smile today?" Sophia paused, caught off guard by this personal inquiry. "Excuse me?" Outside of work, Aiden clarified. "What moment brought you joy?" The question crossed invisible boundaries they had both carefully maintained. After brief hesitation, Sophia answered honestly. "Lucia called during my lunch break. She received the highest score in her science class for her solar purification project, the one you helped with." Aiden nodded, satisfaction warming his expression. "Her teacher recognized her potential. Her teacher said she has natural engineering instincts," Sophia added, maternal pride evident in her voice. "She's been invited to join the advanced science program next semester." "That's genuinely wonderful news." Aiden's response carried authentic pleasure rather than polite acknowledgement. A moment passed between them, something quiet yet significant. For the first time, they connected not as employer and employee, but as two people sharing appreciation for a child's achievement. "What about you?" Sophia ventured, surprising herself with a reciprocal question. Aiden considered thoughtfully. "I received a handwritten letter from a housekeeper at our Chicago property. Last year, we implemented educational assistance programs based on staff feedback. She's completing her nursing degree next month, first in her family to attend college." Sophia noted how his greatest satisfaction came not from business achievements but from positive impact on individual lives. Another perception challenged, another assumption dissolved. As she prepared to leave, Aiden spoke again. "Would you join me for dinner tomorrow evening? The chef is testing new menu items and requested diverse feedback." The invitation, professional in content yet personal in delivery, hovered between them. "I usually have dinner with Lucia and my mother," Sophia replied carefully. "Of course. Perhaps another time." Aiden accepted her indirect decline without pressure. Sophia reached the door before reconsidering. "I could join you if the timing were earlier, perhaps 5:30. 5:30 would be perfect." This small exchange, this tentative step beyond strict professional boundaries, marked the beginning of subtle transformation in their relationship. The private dining room overlooked the ocean, sunset painting the waves with gold and crimson. Sophia arrived precisely at 5:30, uncertain whether their dinner constituted work obligation or social engagement. Aiden greeted her with characteristic directness. "Thank you for adjusting your schedule. I value your perspective on the menu revisions." His framing of the invitation as professional courtesy eased Sophia's initial discomfort. The formal setting and presence of the executive chef further maintained appropriate distance between them. As they sampled proposed dishes, their conversation remained safely focused on culinary assessments. Sophia offered practical insights about portion sizes, presentation complexity, and flavor profiles. Aiden noted her observations with genuine interest, often building upon her comments with complementary perspectives. After the chef departed, however, their interaction gradually shifted. Conversation expanded beyond menu considerations to broader topics: the restaurant industry, food traditions, cultural influences on cuisine. My mother preserved Japanese cooking traditions despite limited resources, Aiden shared. She believed maintaining cultural connections through food gave stability during difficult transitions. Sophia recognized the personal disclosure beneath the observation. My mother taught me the same about Mexican culinary traditions. Even when money was tight, certain recipes remained sacred, connections to home and heritage. This discovered commonality. Immigrant mothers preserving culture through food despite financial constraints created unexpected bridge between their different worlds. What was your favorite childhood dish? Aiden asked. My mother's chilaquiles, Sophia answered without hesitation, especially when made with day-old tortillas from my grandmother's recipe. The simplest ingredients transformed into something special through care and technique. As their conversation continued, Sophia gradually relaxed into genuine exchange rather than calculated performance. For these moments, the vast differences in their current circumstances receded, revealing surprising similarities in their foundational experiences. When Sophia mentioned needing to return home for Lucia, Aiden walked her to the staff exit. Their farewell carried new quality, lingering but uncertain, comfortable yet undefined. Thank you for your company this evening, Aiden said simply. Thank you for valuing my opinion, Sophia replied. The distinction between professional appreciation and personal connection blurred further with each passing day. Despite growing comfort in their interactions, formidable barriers remained between Sophia and Aiden. These obstacles, rarely acknowledged directly but constantly present, shaped every aspect of their evolving relationship. The most obvious division was economic. Aiden's wealth created power imbalance impossible to ignore. His casual decisions involved sums exceeding Sophia's annual salary. His daily reality included access and opportunities fundamentally different from her limited options. Cultural differences presented additional complexity. Though both came from immigrant families, their current relationships with those backgrounds diverged significantly. Sophia remained deeply embedded in her cultural community, attending Spanish-language church services, participating in traditional celebrations, maintaining daily connections with extended family networks. Aiden, while honoring his Japanese heritage, operated primarily with an international business culture that transcended national boundaries. His multilingual fluency and global perspective contrasted with Sophia's more geographically rooted identity. Most significantly, their professional relationship complicated potential personal connection. Sophia remained Aiden's employee, dependent on his approval for continued livelihood. This fundamental power differential created inevitable questions about authentic consent versus obligatory accommodation. Sophia felt these barriers acutely during a staff appreciation event when Henderson approached her with suspicious curiosity. Interesting how much time you spend with Mr. Nakamura, the manager observed with artificial casualness. Beyond your assigned duties. The implication, subtle but unmistakable, reminded Sophia how others might interpret their evolving relationship. The workforce already contained whispered speculation about her special assignment. Any hint of personal connection would transform professional opportunity into perceived favoritism or worse. That evening, Sophia maintained careful professional distance during her interactions with Aiden. She responded to personal questions with brief, neutral answers. She declined his invitation to review renovation plans after her shift ended. Aiden noticed the change immediately. Have I overstepped appropriate boundaries? His direct question, characteristic of his straightforward communication style, required equally direct response. People are beginning to notice our interactions, Sophia acknowledged carefully. It creates complications. People often create narratives based on limited information, Aiden observed. Does their speculation concern you? It could affect how my colleagues perceive my work and achievements. Aiden considered this perspective with genuine attention. A valid concern. Perception affects opportunity. His immediate understanding, his respect for her professional reputation, further contradicted Sophia's initial assumptions about privileged indifference. He recognized workplace dynamics invisible to most executives. We should maintain appropriate professional boundaries, Sophia suggested. Of course. Aiden accepted her preference without question. Your comfort determines our interaction parameters. This respect for her agency, this willingness to adapt to her concerns without defensive response, revealed character that increasingly complicated Sophia's emotional boundaries. Their carefully maintained professional distance lasted precisely 2 weeks before circumstances intervened. Sophia arrived one morning to find Aiden engaged in video conference with his grandmother in Japan. His usual composure had disappeared, replaced by evident distress despite his attempts at calm reassurance in Japanese. Sophia quietly prepared to leave, but Aiden signaled for her to stay. After concluding the call, he explained the situation. "My grandmother's caregiver has been hospitalized. She's alone until arrangements can be made for replacement assistance." Sophia recognized the concern beneath his controlled expression. Family emergency requires priority attention. Indeed. Aiden began organizing travel documents. "I'll depart for Tokyo this evening." Without considering implications, Sophia spoke from genuine empathy. "Is there anything I can do to help your preparation?" Aiden looked up, momentary vulnerability visible before his professional mask returned. "Your offer is appreciated but unnecessary. The situation is manageable." Yet Sophia recognized signs indicating otherwise, missed details uncharacteristic of his usual thoroughness, forgotten arrangements requiring attention. His concern for his grandmother clearly affected his typically precise focus. Setting aside caution about boundaries, Sophia stepped into practical assistance mode. She contacted travel services to confirm arrangements. She ensured necessary documents were organized. She coordinated with his executive assistant to reschedule commitments. Throughout these preparations, Aiden's characteristic self-sufficiency gradually yielded to acceptance of her help. This small surrender, this willingness to receive support rather than maintain complete independence, represented significant evolution in their connection. As departure time approached, unexpected moment of personal disclosure emerged. "My grandmother raised me after my mother died," Aiden explained quietly while reviewing final travel details. "She sacrificed her retirement to ensure my education continued. Everything I've achieved began with her belief in possibilities beyond our circumstances." Sophia recognized profound affection underlying his concern. "She must be extraordinary. She is," simple words carrying complex emotion. "She refused help for years despite my ability to provide it." Pride and independence remain core values for her generation. Sophia heard unmistakable parallel to her own reluctance accepting assistance. Some values transcend culture and generation. Aiden's gaze met hers with new quality of recognition. Indeed, in this exchange, this mutual acknowledgement of shared values despite different circumstances, something shifted between them. Professional boundaries temporarily dissolved, revealing genuine human connection beneath carefully maintained roles. Before departing, Aiden made unexpected request. "Would you check my grandmother's photo each morning? It's important to me." The small carved frame on his desk contained image of elderly Japanese woman with gentle dignity in her expression. The request revealed trust beyond professional parameters, allowing Sophia access to personal space containing private sentiment. "Of course," Sophia promised. "Safe travels." As she watched him leave, Sophia confronted uncomfortable realization. Her feelings toward Aiden Nakamura had evolved beyond professional respect into something more complex and personal. The recognition brought immediate conflict. Rational caution warned against emotional involvement with someone from a fundamentally different world. Practical wisdom highlighted inevitable complications of workplace relationships. Protective instinct feared vulnerability with someone possessing such disproportionate power. Yet something deeper, something increasingly difficult to deny, had begun transforming her perception of possibilities between them. During Aiden's 2-week absence, Sophia maintained their connection through brief professional updates and occasional messages about his grandmother's photograph. Simple notes mentioning she had ensured it remained properly positioned and dust-free. His responses, while consistently appreciative, revealed gradual relaxation of formal business communication. His messages evolved from "thank you for the update" to more personal acknowledgments. "Grandmother would appreciate your attention to detail, and your messages bring unexpected comfort during challenging days." When Aiden returned, Sophia immediately noticed subtle changes. His typically immaculate appearance showed signs of travel fatigue. More significantly, his usual emotional reserve had softened slightly, revealing glimpses of the person beneath professional presentation. "How is your grandmother?" Sophia asked after completing routine morning preparations. "Stable, stubborn, refusing to consider moving closer to family despite clear evidence it would improve her quality of life." Aiden's voice carried equal measures of frustration and affection, remarkably similar to another independent woman I know. The gentle comparison, linking Sophia and his beloved grandmother through shared determination, created unexpected warmth between them. As they settled back into work routines, Sophia noticed Aiden occasionally sharing personal observations that previously remained private. He mentioned childhood memories triggered by coastal views. He discussed books beyond business literature. He revealed individual preferences rather than maintaining neutral professionalism. These small disclosures, these glimpses behind carefully constructed public persona, drew Sophia further into genuine connection with the man rather than the executive. Their evolving relationship faced critical juncture during the resort's annual employee recognition event. Sophia received Excellence Award for her contributions to the renovation project's staff wellness initiatives. As she accepted the award, Sophia noticed Aiden watching from side of the gathering rather than seated at the executive table. His expression conveyed genuine pride in her achievement, personal rather than professional satisfaction in her recognition. Later, as the celebration continued, Sophia found moment to approach him privately. "You attended from the background," she observed, "not from the executive position. Your moment deserved authentic acknowledgement, not filtered through hierarchical performance," Aiden replied. Success means more when recognized independently of relationship to its observer. His deliberate choice to allow her achievement to stand entirely on its merit, without connection to their relationship, demonstrated understanding of her concerns about perception and favoritism. This thoughtful consideration, this consistent respect for her professional dignity, progressively dismantled Sophia's emotional defenses. If you've ever experienced that moment when your perception of someone completely transforms, when you realize your initial judgment missed their true character, you understand exactly what Sophia was experiencing. This journey from prejudice to connection reminds us how quickly we categorize others and how much we might miss in the process. If Sophia's story is resonating with you, take a quick moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these stories of growth, connection, and the unexpected ways our lives can change when we open ourselves to seeing beyond appearances. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of storytelling enthusiasts as we continue exploring the complex, beautiful ways human relationships evolve. As the evening concluded, Sophia and Aiden found themselves briefly alone on the terrace overlooking the bay. Moonlight transformed the water into shimmering silver plain extending toward distant horizon. "Thank you," Sophia said simply, "for seeing me as more than my position." "Thank you," Aiden replied with equal simplicity, "for seeing me as more than my circumstances." In this exchange, this mutual recognition of perception beyond external markers, something fundamental shifted between them. The carefully maintained boundary between professional and personal connection began dissolving into possibility neither had initially imagined. Sophia's hand rested on the terrace railing. After a moment's hesitation, Aiden's hand moved beside hers, not quite touching but close enough to acknowledge intention. The gesture asked question without demanding answer. Sophia looked at their hands, so different yet similarly capable, and recognized a decision point in their evolving relationship. Moving forward meant acknowledging growing personal connection, despite all logical reasons for caution. Slowly, deliberately, she moved her hand until their fingers touched, barely connecting yet bridging divide between separate worlds. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. In that simple contact, complicated truths found expression beyond words. Their journey from judgment to understanding had only just begun. 3 months after Aiden's arrival at Sapphire Bay, the renovation project neared completion. The physical transformation of the property had been matched by equally significant operational changes, new management systems, enhanced guest experiences, and most notably, revolutionary approaches to staff development and well-being. Sophia had become instrumental in this evolution, her practical insights bridging the gap between executive vision and frontline implementation. Her role had expanded far beyond her original housekeeping position, though she maintained those duties alongside her growing responsibilities. One morning in early spring, Sophia arrived to find Aiden reviewing final renovation reports. Large architectural plans covered his desk, alongside financial projections and staff satisfaction metrics that showed remarkable improvement. "Good morning," Sophia greeted him, their relationship now comfortable with the gentle familiarity that had developed between them. "Sophia," Aiden looked up with unusual formality in his expression. "Please sit down. There's something important I'd like to discuss." Sophia took the seat across from him, noting the seriousness in his tone. "The board has approved a new executive position at Sapphire Bay," Aiden began. "Director of Staff Development and Engagement." The role will oversee training programs, career advancement initiatives, employee wellness services, and direct communication channels between management and staff. He slid a formal document across the desk. I'd like you to consider taking this position. Sophia stared at the paper, momentarily unable to process his words. The job description outlined responsibilities far beyond anything she had imagined for herself: leadership authority, budget management, policy development. This position reports directly to the general manager, she noted, scanning the organizational chart. It's an executive role. Yes, Aiden confirmed. With corresponding compensation and benefits. Sophia looked up, meeting his gaze directly. Why me? Because you understand what others in management positions cannot, Aiden replied simply. You know what our staff experiences daily. You recognize problems invisible to executives who've never worked frontline positions. You bring perspective essential for meaningful improvement. I don't have formal qualifications, Sophia pointed out. No management degree, no corporate experience. You have something more valuable, authentic understanding combined with practical intelligence. Aiden leaned forward slightly. Formal education can be acquired. Your knowledge of human systems and organizational dynamics cannot be taught in classrooms. Sophia looked again at the document, the salary figure catching her attention, more than triple her current compensation. A sum that would transform her family's financial reality overnight. You don't need to decide immediately, Aiden added. Review the details. Consider the responsibilities. We can discuss any questions tomorrow. As Sophia left with the proposal in hand, she struggled to reconcile this extraordinary opportunity with her long-held beliefs about career limitations. For years, she had defined success as simply maintaining steady employment and meeting her family's basic needs. Now, unexpectedly, doors were opening to possibilities she had never permitted herself to imagine. That evening, Sophia sat at her kitchen table long after Lucia and Elena had gone to bed. The job offer lay before her alongside her own handwritten notes, questions, concerns, and practical considerations. The opportunity itself was undeniable. Beyond financial benefits, the position offered genuine influence to improve conditions for workers like herself. It provided platform to implement changes she had advocated for years, yet doubt circled persistently through her thoughts. Could someone with her background succeed in an executive position? Would other managers respect her authority without traditional credentials? How would her former colleagues respond to her elevation? Would she be viewed as truly qualified or merely as Aiden's project? Sophia recognized these uncertainties as partly external, legitimate questions about workplace dynamics, and partly internal, reflecting deep-rooted beliefs about her own capabilities and place in the world. For years, she had accepted implicit boundaries around her potential. She had internalized subtle messaging about appropriate aspirations for women from her background. She had defined herself primarily through service to others, rather than through leadership. Mama, why are you still awake? Lucia appeared in the doorway, hair tousled from sleep. Sophia smiled at her daughter. I'm thinking about a big decision. Lucia studied the papers on the table. Is it about the new job Mr. Nakamura offered? Sophia blinked in surprise. How did you know about that? You left the papers out this morning, Lucia admitted, sliding into the chair beside her. It looks important. It is, Sophia confirmed. It would be a very different role than what I do now. Would you be happier? Lucia asked with characteristic directness. The question penetrated straight through Sophia's complex adult considerations to the essential core. Would this change bring greater fulfillment? Would it allow her to contribute more meaningfully? I think I might be, Sophia admitted, but it's challenging. I'd need to learn many new skills. Lucia considered this seriously. Like when I started advanced science, I was scared at first because the other kids had parents who were engineers and doctors. But my teacher said I belonged there because I saw solutions others miss. Sophia looked at her daughter with sudden clarity. How could she encourage Lucia to pursue her potential without limitations while simultaneously restricting her own? You'd be amazing, Lucia stated with absolute certainty. You fix everything for everyone. Now you could fix things for all the people who work at the hotel. In her daughter's simple confidence, Sophia found courage to confront her deepest fear. Not that she would fail, but that she might succeed, and in succeeding transform her understanding of what was possible. Thank you, mi vida, Sophia whispered, kissing Lucia's forehead. Now back to bed. We both need clear minds tomorrow. As Lucia returned to her room, Sophia gathered the papers with new resolve. She would accept the position, not just for financial security or professional advancement, but as declaration of belief in her own capacity for growth beyond predetermined boundaries. The decision made, she finally allowed herself to consider the other significant evolution in her life, her feelings for Aiden and the unspoken possibility developing between them. The following morning, Sophia arrived at Aiden's suite with clear intention. "I'd like to accept the position," she stated without preamble. "But I have conditions regarding implementation and reporting structure." Aiden's expression revealed both pleasure at her acceptance and respect for her forthright approach. "I expected nothing less. What are your terms?" For 30 minutes they discussed specifics, how the transition would occur, what support systems she would need, how her authority would be established with existing management. When business matters concluded, Aiden surprised her with unexpected request. "Would you join me for lunch today? There's something I'd like to show you regarding the final renovation stage." Sophia agreed, curious about his formal tone. At noon they walked together along a winding path toward the beach, the same route Sophia had taken that fateful morning when they first encountered each other. "We're going to the cabanas," Sophia realized as their direction became clear. "Specifically, Cabana 7, Aiden confirmed. "It seems appropriate location for important conversations." As they approached the structure, Sophia noted significant changes from her memory. The renovation had transformed all beachfront cabanas, enhancing their luxury while improving functionality. Cabana 7, however, had undergone unique modification. Unlike the others, it featured a small brass plaque beside its entrance. Sophia stepped closer to read the inscription, "Where journeys begin with unexpected encounters. Dedicated to those who learn to see beyond first impressions." The simple words captured their shared history with elegant precision. Sophia turned to find Aiden watching her with uncharacteristic vulnerability in his expression. "I thought this place deserved acknowledgement," he explained quietly. "Some locations hold significance beyond their physical properties." Sophia recognized the sentiment beneath his measured words. Cabana 7 represented more than architectural space. It marked the beginning of transformation for both of them. "It's perfect," she replied, emotion coloring her voice. Inside, a private lunch had been arranged on the deck where they had first spoken. The setting sun painted the ocean with golden light, the same view that had formed backdrop to their initial confrontation. "It feels different being here now," Sophia observed as they seated themselves. "We're different," Aiden replied simply. "Perception changes everything. In this place where judgment had once divided them, they now shared meal as equals, connected through mutual respect and deepening affection neither had anticipated." After lunch, Aiden suggested walking along the shoreline. They removed their shoes, carrying them as they followed the water's edge in comfortable silence. "I leave next week," Aiden finally said, his voice barely audible above gentle wave sounds. "The renovation is complete. My presence is required at our Singapore property." Sophia had known this moment would come. Aiden's position demanded international travel between properties. His 3-month residence at Sapphire Bay had always been temporary arrangement. "The staff development program is in excellent hands," she replied, focusing on professional aspects to mask the personal impact of his departure. "That's not my concern," Aiden said quietly. He stopped walking, turning to face her directly. The setting sun illuminated his features with golden light as he took both her hands in his. "Sophia Mendez, I've spent my life building systems and structures, creating order from chaos, solutions from problems. I approached relationships with the same methodical planning until meeting you." His voice carried unusual emotion. "You challenged every assumption. You forced me to reconsider established perspectives. You showed me blind spots in my understanding that no business education could reveal." Sophia felt her heart accelerate as she recognized the significance of this moment. "My grandmother says true wisdom comes from those who help us see ourselves more clearly," Aiden continued. "You've given me that gift. You saw beyond my position to the person beneath. You judged me by actions rather than appearance or affluence." He released one of her hands to retrieve a small box from his pocket. "I'm not leaving for Singapore alone. I'm asking if you'll consider a different kind of partnership, one based on shared values rather than shared circumstances." He opened the box, revealing a ring of elegant simplicity, platinum band holding single perfect diamond. Not ostentatious display of wealth, but thoughtful symbol of commitment. "I love you, Sophia. Your strength, your integrity, your capacity for growth. I'm asking if you'll marry me, not as culmination of our journey but as beginning of new one together." The ocean continued its eternal rhythm as Sophia absorbed his words. A year ago, such a moment would have seemed impossible fantasy. Now, standing before a man who had transformed from stranger to colleague to beloved, possibility felt both terrifying and inevitable. "Our worlds are very different," she said softly. "Our worlds," Aiden replied, "are what we choose to build together." Sophia looked at the ring, then back to Aiden's face, so different from the disheveled stranger she had confronted months ago, yet fundamentally the same person who had challenged her perception from their first interaction. Their journey together had begun with judgment, her assumptions about his worth based on appearance, his assessment of her character based on limited information. Both had been partially wrong yet ultimately transformative. Through their evolving relationship, Sophia had discovered capacity for growth beyond self-imposed limitations. She had learned to question long-held beliefs about wealth and character. She had found voice previously silenced by circumstance and expectation. Most significantly, she had recognized that true connection transcends external differences when built upon shared values and mutual respect. "Lucia and my mother," Sophia began thoughtfully, "would need to come with me." "I would expect nothing less," Aiden responded. "Family remains foundation for both of us. In my new position, I want to continue developing that work. It matters to me." "It should. Your perspective changes lives. That's precisely why the program will expand across all properties." Sophia considered future implications, practical adjustments, cultural adaptations, inevitable challenges of merging different worlds. Yet beneath these considerations lay fundamental truth. They had already navigated most difficult terrain by learning to truly see each other beyond surface appearances. "Yes," Sophia finally answered, certainty filling her voice. "Yes, I will marry you." As Aiden slipped the ring onto her finger, Sophia thought about the complex path that had brought them to this moment. From hostile first encounter to professional collaboration to deepening personal connection, each stage building understanding that transcended their different circumstances. "I never imagined this outcome when I confronted you in this cabana," Sophia admitted with gentle humor. "I did," Aiden replied unexpectedly. "Not immediately, but soon after. I recognized something extraordinary in your directness, someone unwilling to compromise principles regardless of consequences. You saw me clearly before I saw you," Sophia realized. "We see each other clearly now," Aiden corrected, drawing her into his embrace. "That's what matters." As the sun completed its descent into the ocean, Sophia reflected on her journey from judgment to understanding, from limitation to possibility. The woman who had once categorized people based on wealth indicators now recognized the profound inadequacy of such classifications. True worth, she had discovered, revealed itself not through external markers, but through consistent actions, demonstrated values, and capacity for growth. Aiden had taught her this truth, not through words, but through living example of character transcending circumstance. Their story had begun with misconception, but would continue with clear-sighted appreciation of each other's authentic selves, imperfect, complex, and genuinely connected beyond surface appearances. In Cabana 7, where judgment had once divided them, understanding had ultimately united them, completing perfect circle of transformation neither could have anticipated. The morning sun sparkled across the waves visible from the executive office of Sapphire Bay Resort. Sophia Nakamura adjusted a frame on her desk, a photograph capturing 4 generations together, Elena smiling beside Sophia's grandmother-in-law. With Lucia between them, all gathered at the intimate wedding ceremony held 6 months earlier in the garden adjacent to Cabana 7. Sophia checked her watch. Her first staff development meeting would begin in 30 minutes. The program she had pioneered at Sapphire Bay now operated in 17 properties across the Nakamura Hospitality Group, with measurable improvements in employee retention, satisfaction, and career advancement. Her office door opened as Aiden entered, returning from his morning property walk. These daily inspections, conducted not as executive formality, but as genuine assessment of guest and staff experience, had become signature elements of his management approach. "The new housekeeping team leader has implemented your mentorship program," he reported, kissing Sophia's cheek. "Participation has already exceeded projections." "Marta deserves the credit," Sophia replied. "She developed most of the practical training modules." Sophia's former co-worker now served as housekeeping director, her years of practical experience finally recognized as valuable management qualification. This pattern had repeated throughout the property. Frontline staff with demonstrated capability advancing into leadership positions previously reserved for those with formal credentials. "Are you ready for the board presentation this afternoon?" Aiden asked, reviewing the calendar they now shared. Sophia nodded confidently. 1 year ago, the prospect of presenting to international executives would have terrified her. Today, she approached the task with calm assurance born of recognized expertise. They'll approve the expansion, Aiden predicted. The financial results speak for themselves. The numbers indeed told compelling story. Properties implementing Sophia's staff development initiatives showed 32% reduced turnover, 28% higher guest satisfaction scores, and 17% increased revenue, proving that employee well-being directly impacted business success. Yet beyond metrics and statistics lay deeper transformation. Sapphire Bay had evolved from traditional luxury resort into pioneer of new hospitality culture, one recognizing that exceptional guest experiences began with exceptional staff experiences. The changes extended throughout every level of the organization. Former rigid hierarchies had yielded to collaborative structures valuing contribution over position. Communication flowed freely between departments, once isolated from each other. Innovation emerged from unexpected sources as frontline insights gained equal consideration with executive strategies. Most significantly, staff members now viewed themselves as valued contributors rather than disposable components. They spoke directly during management meetings. They participated in decision-making affecting their work environments. They saw viable career paths within the organization regardless of educational background. Remember Henderson's reaction when you first proposed direct staff input on renovation plans? Sophia asked with slight smile. Aiden nodded, recalling the manager's horror at such radical departure from traditional chains of command. He's now implementing the same approach at our Maui property. This ripple effect, transformation spreading beyond individual properties to influence the broader hospitality industry, represented the most meaningful outcome of their journey together. What began as personal connection between two people from different worlds had expanded into systemic change, improving thousands of lives. The previous day, Sophia had received email from housekeeping supervisor at competing luxury resort, "Your presentation at the hospitality leadership conference inspired us to restructure our staff development program. Thank you for showing what's possible when we truly value all voices within our organizations." Such messages arrived regularly now, evidence that their story had impact extending far beyond their immediate circumstances. Sophia gathered her materials for the upcoming meeting, reflecting on the extraordinary path that had led to this moment. One judgment almost prevented all of this, she observed quietly. One judgment began all of this, Aiden corrected gently. Your confrontation that day forced me to reconsider my appearance during focused work periods. My response challenged your assumptions about wealth and character. Without that initial conflict, we might never have truly seen each other. This perspective, that even flawed beginnings could lead to transformative outcomes when approached with openness to growth, had become central to their shared philosophy. The human tendency to categorize others based on limited information serves practical purpose, Aiden continued, echoing conversation they'd shared many times. Pattern recognition helped our ancestors survive, but confusing these initial assessments with complete understanding limits our connections and possibilities. Sophia nodded thoughtfully. We judge appearances because it's efficient, but we grow by questioning those judgments when evidence contradicts them. This willingness to revise initial impressions to allow new information to transform established perspectives had defined their journey from antagonistic first encounter to profound partnership. Lucia's science teacher said something similar yesterday, Sophia added. She told students that the foundation of scientific thinking is willingness to change theories when new evidence emerges. Wise teacher, Aiden replied. The same principle applies to human relationships. As Sophia prepared to leave for her meeting, Aiden touched her hand briefly, small gesture conveying deep connection built through months of mutual growth and understanding. Our story continues evolving, he observed. Sophia smiled, wedding ring catching morning light. The best stories always do. Friends, Sophia and Aiden's journey reminds us of life's most valuable lesson. Our first impressions are rarely the complete picture. That person you dismissed based on appearance, they might hold the key to your future happiness. The individual you judged by their circumstances, they might possess exactly the perspective you need most. Their story challenges us to pause before cementing our judgments, to remain open to evidence that contradicts our initial assessments. It reminds us that meaningful connections often begin with misconceptions gradually dissolved through genuine understanding. Most importantly, it shows how one moment of judgment, followed by willingness to grow beyond it, can transform not just individual lives, but entire communities. If this story touched your heart or made you reconsider how quickly you form opinions about others, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who might benefit from its message. Your subscription to our channel helps us continue bringing these meaningful stories to life. In our next story, we'll explore another powerful journey of transformation, this time following a dedicated teacher who discovers that her most challenging student holds an extraordinary secret that will forever change her approach to education. You won't want to miss this compelling tale of how appearances can mask remarkable gifts waiting to be discovered. Until then, remember Sophia's wisdom. We all deserve second chances to be seen beyond first impressions. Sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with moments of misjudgment, opening doors to possibilities we never imagined.